Gryphon is a family-owned North American motorcycle protective apparel brand with a long history in the motorcycle industry. Gryphon offers CE Level 2 protection in the back, shoulders, and elbows. The armor is pliable to move with you for a comfortable and safe ride. Gryphon offers a wide range of products for men and women, mesh, transition, and four-season jackets in textile and leather. We offer thermal-lined riding pants, rain gear, and gloves. Gryphon is focused on style, function, and protection for our fellow riders. Check us out at www.gryphonmoto.com.
Hauling it to the track, blasting over it, pushing the limits, aiming for the top. You're always in it to win it, and you want to stay cool. Super Cool Boil Guard reduces engine operating temperatures by up to 20 degrees. Super Cool Performance. Superior protection against cavitation, corrosion, and erosion. Don't get beat by the heat. Visit redlineoil.com for products designed and engineered to keep you cool.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of On the Throttle with Jacqui Van Ham and my buddy Josh over here, bringing you all of the exciting news to report out in the world of power sports. And we've got an excellent program for you this week. I mean, Josh, to be honest, we have excellent programs going on every single week, talking about all of the newest and latest breaking news and top stories going on in power sports. I know for myself, I've got two really great stories going on today. One is Harley Davidson getting smaller? And my second story is about one of my most favorite places in the United States hosting a very special event on April 2nd. Josh, what do you have going on in your neck of the woods?
So I have electrifying dorky stuff, and I also have something that is just, I mean, it's news that it's probably the most important breaking news in the past 22 years for this one motorcycle line. So I'm really excited to talk about that.
It sounds awesome. So first things first, my bit of news that I wanted to go ahead and jump on into because it's taking place here in very short order. On April 2nd, there is going to be a memorial service as well as the 20th year anniversary, kind of a celebration and a celebration of life at a very special place called Wheels Through Time Museum. This is going to be paying a little bit of homage and love to the founder of this very special place in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. This gentleman's name was Dale Walksler. He passed away after a 4-year battle with cancer in 2021. And due to COVID and timing and all of that jazz, they haven't really had a really good gathering of people to come and celebrate this man's incredible life. If you have not had the chance to go to Wheels Through Time, I strongly encourage you to put it on your bucket list immediately. It's in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. It's literally just minutes off of the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is some of the finest motorcycle riding in the United States. It's an incredibly special, very cool place. I've had the good fortune of going there for a very long time. I think the first time I went was, oh gosh, maybe like 2008 or 9. Like I said, this is also corresponding with the 20-year anniversary of this incredible place. The son of Dale Walksler, a gentleman named Matt Waxler, is carrying on in the family tradition. I've got the next slide shows him. We had the good fortune here at Motorcycle and Power Sports News to go out and shoot film with him this past fall. It was absolutely beautiful. The leaves were changing. He is just as gracious and kind and generous with his time as his dad was. They are two peas in the same pod of true American, just kind of these iconic figures in American motorcycling. And I don't know, Josh, if you had the chance to go to this museum or not, it's called the Museum That Runs on Purpose. They have hundreds of bikes on display, and every single one of them runs, Josh. If you ask really nicely, they will absolutely go over and kickstart or push start or however they got to get that machine running multiple times throughout the day during the daily running of the museum. They will fire up these incredible bikes, and they have got some of the coolest, most mind-blowing motorcycles I've ever seen. They have got Crocker, they have got like just a bazillion Harley Davidsons, a ton of Indians, ultra rare bikes. They have a really neat machine, the 1916 guesstimated Traub, of which we did an entire story on, which will be premiering on a series that we're shooting over here on MPN called Kickstart Chronicles that I've been working on for the past several months, featuring some of the most important motorcycles in the world. We've been shooting those stories here for Motorcycle Powersports News. Anyway, Josh, have you had the good fortune of going to this very special place?
I have not, but I've seen a ton of information on it. And to me, so I mean, me being the technical and techie guy of sorts, it's funny. I'm always trying to look towards the future in that, but we cannot forget where we've come from. And they do an amazing job as, I mean, I'm a function over form guy. I don't really care what it looks like as long as it works well. And the fact that they have all of these in running condition, to me, is the most correct thing that you can possibly do for these types of bikes. So yeah, I've seen it. I have not necessarily been there. It's on my bucket list for sure. And I mean, yeah, just for them to do this celebration like this, what a way to do it.
Yeah, it sounds like a really, really neat, good time. I am fingers crossed. Possibly, I would love to go to this. I'm still kind of figuring out my schedule for that week, but I really would love to go. They've invited very special guests to come and also speak about Dale. Again, Dale and Matt Waxler both have been very, very heavily involved in the American motorcycling and antique motorcycling community for just years and years and years.
Yeah.
Dale and the Wayback Machine had a motorcycle dealership closer to up here over in Illinois, actually, and then relocated down to North Carolina again 20 years ago. He has run on the Cannonball, which is a coast to coast antique
Yep.
motorcycle run, and north to south run. He and his son both have done it. They race these bikes. I just saw Matt at the Sons of Speed races in Daytona, where he was allowing some other folks to race and campaign on these 100-year-old machines. So again, just a really, really special day, a very, very special place. I can't give them enough love. So I wanted to go ahead and give them a little bit of love digitally out here on the show, as well as let our viewers
Nice.
know that if they are in the area, they should be putting this on their bucket list and going to
For
this
sure.
incredible event. Again, one more time, this is Wheels Through Time in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. This celebration takes place on April 2nd, but this museum is open almost every day. But make sure you go ahead, double check on their website for the exact dates and their exact schedule. But they are open all the time. Do go and visit them and check it out.
For
It is
sure.
absolutely bucket list. It is a must do if you love anything remotely to do with motorcycling. And actually, to be honest, before I move on to your topic, we had film crew with us that, of course, love power sports because they work here at MPN, but aren't really super heavily involved like you and I are in the history of motorcycles necessarily. And
Right.
every single one of them walked away and said that they would come back on their personal time and come visit this museum on their own,
Yep.
even without going there
Can't
for
blame
work.
them.
That's how special this place is. It is a jewel in the crown of American motorcycling, and I wanted to let our fans know that there's a very special event coming up. So, what's going
For
on in
sure.
your neck of the woods, Josh?
So Yamaha announced the TY-E 2.0. So I think it's kind of cool. So Yamaha's been in and out of trials over the years. There's Sherco, there's other ones that are more heavily involved with it, but Yamaha has really grabbed a hold of the electric side of the trials bikes. And to me, when I see something that looks like this, I just want to go bounce around on this thing all day long. So they just had the information out on this. It's supposed to be starting. They're doing select rounds of the FIM Trials World Championship with it. There is a separate electric division because obviously the bikes do some things differently. The first one that they're scheduled for is in June, so I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be tuning in for that. So this is a carbon setup frame with this. It's a monocoque frame that's using composite laminates to put it together. That gives them a little bit more leverage in terms of how and where they're going to put batteries and things of that nature. The new battery, which should be on the next slide here, that has 2.5 times more capacity than the previous battery. It also went on a 20% diet, which is the same thing that I would like to do. In this, what I noticed when I started to look at this is I saw that there is this handle mounted to the top of this. Nothing has been said about this battery being swappable. But when I look at those connectors and I look at the handle on the top, I scratch my chin a little bit and think, I wonder if it is. So details on that haven't been released quite yet. if you know anything about trials bikes, weight is a huge issue for them. These are going to be the lightest bikes that you're ever going to find anywhere. And when you look at the amount of power that they crank out for their size, power to weight is pretty insane with them. This bike weighs in at just over 70 kilograms. So we're looking right around, I mean, probably about 160 pounds, 170 pounds, which is a pretty light bike. The other unique thing about this is using a wet clutch and flywheel setup. Now, one of the things that when you see guys on trials bikes that will start on a post and jump up, electric motors have instant torque. The problem is they don't have stored energy like that. And that flywheel allows you to store energy. And you wouldn't think you would need a clutch, but the flywheel allows you to store up that energy. You can pop that clutch, which that is what allows trials guys to go from the ground to jumping about 3 or 4 feet in the air. It's always impressed me. I know we've talked about trials before. If you haven't watched trials stuff, go watch it. It's amazing what people can do with these little motorcycles. So, I mean, Jacqui, I know you like the e-bike stuff. Is this I want to jump on that thing and go just hoon. What are your thoughts?
Oh gosh, absolutely. First of all, I don't know if this is a rendering or if this is an actual
It's the
prototype,
real thing.
but it looks incredible. I love the
Yeah.
styling of it. Yamaha has
Yep.
definitely turned a page from a little bit more of a stodgy, uptight vibe. This looks terrifically modern to me. I really love the styling of it. I'll
Yeah.
say that number one, just from a purely like looks, shopping with your eyeballs kind of standpoint. But number two, I am really excited to talk about two different things going on with this, which, as you mentioned, has to do with more with the battery. I love that this is showing that we are starting to make progress in battery technology. If I've said it once, I've said it 555 million times here on this show that as far as e-bikes go, everything has to do with the battery technology. It's the reason why
Yep.
the prices have stayed so high. It's the reason why the range has not increased. It has everything to do with the battery technology, and we are desperate to make progress in that space. So hopefully this is a sign that there is a little bit of progress coming on with it being, twice the capacity, but yet a
Correct.
fifth of the weight and a fifth of the size, possibly. I do love that you're right. The quick releases on there and the handle to me immediately says that this is going to be a swappable battery technology, which would not surprise me because that's being used in a lot of dirt bike applications. Because
Yep.
it only makes sense if you're out playing around in nature. It's really hard to plug your bike into a tree and make it charge. So I'm guessing that the smarter idea is to bring a second battery with you, which
Yep.
again, logic and form follows function. So I'm guessing that that is exactly what's going on here with this Yamaha. I think this is dope. And you said this is going to be in dealerships in June?
That's when they're going to. So this is mainly for the FIM Trials World Championship, is how it's going to be campaigned. This is not going to be an easy bike to get a hold of. So this is
Ah,
when we're first going to see it. Is the first event? There's a few events coming up. The first event that we will see it as is with a Yamaha test rider. Is what I read from the Yamaha site, saying that the Yamaha
okay.
test rider will be on it. And nonetheless, to see, I mean, even like you said, the looks. Once again, I'm a function over form guy, but if you look, those are lightning bolts on that rear sprocket.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh my
I was
God.
just gonna comment on it. I was just gonna comment on it. I think this is just really, really clever, and huge high fives to the folks over at Yamaha who are
Yes.
jumping into the new, and the modern. Not only with e-bike but with a little bit of styling as well. So I think
Yep.
that looks great. I will definitely be tuned in to this kind of digital launch that you're talking about with a pro rider on it. That is going to be happening in the next handful of months. Very exciting stuff for sure.
Yeah.
My second story for today, I wanted to go ahead and, as I mentioned at the very top of the episode, is Harley Davidson shrinking? Or is Harley Davidson getting smaller? That was going to be my catchphrase for both ideas of what's happening over at Harley Davidson, because just this past week, another little bit of news. And as you can tell by the slide on your screen, this is not a photo. This is lifted from a video that has been sneaking around on the internet. Again, this is totally behind the scenes breaking news, beep, 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 coming from the folks over at Harley Davidson, because that indeed is a Harley Davidson badge on what appears to be a single cylinder, smaller displacement bike. What in the heck is going on over at Harley Davidson? Well, Harley Davidson 500cc twin, I'm sorry, I said single, this is a twin, has been spotted in China. This is going to be for years. We've been waiting for Harley Davidson partnership with Chinese manufacturer Xinjiang to come up with a production machine. So now a second model has been spied because for a little while there, they were teasing in 2019 that the previous CEO, who has since gotten the boot, was talking about he actually announced plans for a 338 model to be built in China. So what was going on is that there was a rumor back in 2019 with the previous CEO that they were going to be partnering up with Xinjiang and making a smaller displacement bike for Asia market. We've talked before here on the program about the fact that when you are going to be making models overseas for Asia market in particular, it is very, very smart to make them in Asia in order to dodge some tax penalty and make sure that the bikes can remain affordable in that country. Most Asia markets cannot and do not pay full pop for overseas made bikes unless they are in the premium and luxury type space, like true big Harley Davidsons, like big BMWs, yada yada. When they are released in their big full size styling overseas markets, trust me, those cost significantly more than the place that those bikes were manufactured. So they were talking about making this little 338 for Asia market. And then it kind of went quiet because they got a new CEO. The new CEO axed a bunch of programs, including saying that he wanted to dial way back on the e-bike market. He wanted to dial way back on the small displacement market. Going into 2020 and 2021, they killed off the existing Street 500 and the Street 750, which were total dogs in this country and didn't sell very well at all. But here's the kicker: the 500 in particular was used almost exclusively for rider training programs here in the United States. Here's why that is important. If you have a whole bunch of brand new riders throwing a leg over a particular motorcycle brand, and this is the bike that they train on and learn to ride on, the sell through rate of that particular bike is actually really quite high and quite good. Number one. Number two, that means you have a built in customer in these training programs that have to buy 10 to 15, 20 of these units. Now multiply that by how many places per state, and then 50 states in the country. So you already have kind of a built in significant purchase going on when you make these small displacement bikes. So every company is fighting over these contracts and really wants to be in this space. Well, again, they killed off the 500, so now those bikes have not been able to be used. But as again, you see the slide on your screen, this is bigger than that 338 that was floating around and is almost a dead ringer for the Benelli Leoncino. So that is the rumor of what's going on over in Harley Davidson land, is that no, Harley Davidson is not really getting smaller. They put up actually really quite good numbers, but they are getting smaller literally in the fact that they are going to be releasing some type of smaller displacement bike for Asian market. So now what I want to know, Josh, and actually if you want to go ahead and throw, I think I've got one more slide up and it is showing the Street 500. I think I threw that in the slide stories for today also, just in case you were not aware or familiar with the Street 500. Nope. This is the Benelli, that 550 that is the Xinjiang 550 that's floating around. Xinjiang is the maker of Benelli. But look at how similar this looks to the slide that you just saw. So this is where it kind of gets interesting. Is it just going to be a rebadged version of this bike? Possibly. And then if we go one more slide into the slideshow, I think I did throw a Street 500 up into the slide so you can check it out, because even though they killed it a handful of years ago and it didn't sell particularly well in this country, that bike is dead sexy. I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't know why this didn't get promoted more. I don't know why this didn't sell through more. I think this just had every capability to be an awesome beginner bike. And it just got poo-pooed on by US market because it was not a quote unquote real Harley Davidson. Josh, what do you think about this story? It has got twists and turns. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It's better than Cats. It's been running around almost as long as Cats has been. What do you think about this
Yeah.
story, Josh? First of all, do you think this bike is coming to US market?
Well, even before that, as soon as you said the title of the title of this, I wanted to make the George Costanza Seinfeld reference, saying I was in the pool. Is that being said? Is to me the point and counterpoint that I have with both of these is, I mean, it is a new market for Harley. Harley needs new markets. I mean, it's been said for year after year after year that their current big niche, their current main customer is aging out to a certain extent. For them to dip their toe in this, I think is amazing. And I mean, this is a great way for them to get people in, whether it be in other countries, maybe it can come over here. It's kind of got that Husqvarna Fartpillen thing going with it, which I think people will like, and I think people will get into it. It's not going to, as long as they market it to people and not to Harley customers, because that is where we come back to something like the Buell Blast. They did that before, and it was marketed as the baby entry Harley, and it didn't work. If they market this to people, people will like this. People will buy this. People will ride this. If they market it to their traditional audience, I don't know. And I think that was the problem with that 500 that you mentioned.
See, I hear what you're saying, but I think that the only place that this really has an opportunity to live is going to be overseas market. I think that this is the
Interesting.
Asian market play. I think this is a European market play. I don't see this really doing very well in this country again, because this is even less Harley Davidson looking in my mind than the Street 500 was. And the Street 500 got chewed up and spit out, and it was shoved into the corner of dealerships. I've spoken to several Harley Davidson dealers and sales staff. Every single one of them poo-pooed all over this. The minute a client came in and said they were interested in this, they immediately steered them towards an 883 Sportster or something more along that line, which is a real Harley Davidson. But you're right. I think the styling of this is super cool. But again, this is a clearly Asia-made bike. It is even less Harley Davidson looking. It is more street trackery vibe kind of looking. I mean, I thought the Street and this both are great bikes, but I think that the Street was being marketed to people who are not necessarily Harley Davidson folks, and it still went over, like a lead balloon. So we will all have to wait and see what happens. I do think it's interesting though that that this rumor that was swirling around about this 350cc now has bumped up to like a 500 plus displacement bike.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's coming here? Who knows? So we will all have to wait and see. But this has been just running around the internet this past week. So I definitely wanted to bring it up and talk about it a little bit. And we're just going to have to all wait and see what happens. Harley Davidson has been full of surprises the past handful of years.
Yes,
Because
they
you're right.
have.
As much as they say that their clients are aging out and they have to market to a new demographic, the new CEO steps in and says, no, new programs are going in the trash, and we are doubling down on trikes and big tour models, which again appeal to the 50-year-old and above community. So
Yep.
we're all gonna have to wait and see what's going on over there. But they put up great numbers for this past year, so obviously something they're doing is working for the folks at Harley Davidson. Now, what else do you have going on in your neck of the woods? You mentioned something about an incredible upgrade or change to a very, very special bike.
Correct. So Suzuki just released a surprise announcement, actually came out yesterday, about a mid-year model change for the DRZ, which is basically 23 years old is when they first came out. Mine is 22 years old. It's old enough to drink now, which is kind of amazing. That being said, this is a rendering that was found about this, and there's going to be two versions. So if you notice, this says it's a 450, and this is the Rally Raid version. So this to me is kind of going after that. They saw the CRF 300. They saw how successful the CRF 300 Rally version was. So Suzuki's going after this. There is a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear wheels. They're spoked. This is true to form, kind of Rally Raid racer type. 9.8 inches of ground clearance is what's been said. Horsepower has gone up from 33 to 46 via fuel injection. On top of this, the thing that everyone wants from a DRZ is a sixth gear, and this has it. There is a 4.5 gallon fuel capacity on the Rally Raid version. I believe they said it was 3.6 on the normal version. Rally Raid rings in at 334 pounds. The other version is going to ring in right about 315. These are awesome, awesome numbers. And I can see why it took Suzuki 22 years to update this. If you go on to the third slide here, I know I'm a day and a half early, but April Fools, everyone. We're going to get, as Suzuki has told us for the last 22 years, bold new graphics. And you know why? Because it still works. I had to do an April Fools for you guys.
I see. Yeah. And this is your own DRZ out in the wild.
Yes, yeah, at 22 years old and still looking reasonably decent, I guess I would say, for the number of the 25 or 26,000 miles that it has on it now. So, and like I said, Suzuki stuck with it for 22 years because you know what? It still works. We are looking forward to the bold new graphics I'm sure we'll get next year, though.
I love those pictures of those renderings, though. I'm not going to lie. Those were great looking.
Oh, I searched for something the other day, and those came up, and I was like, you know what? This is what April Fools is coming up, and I love our audience, but I got to mess with them.
How dare you get me excited about something cool looking from Suzuki? I was just getting ready to give you all sorts of high fives and be like, look at you with the scoop. This is a beautiful looking bike. And of course, it's some fantasy computer rendering, of course. Thanks, Josh. Happy April Fools to you too, buddy.
Thanks. Hey, and you know what the funny thing is every single one of us that like is on a DRZ forum has talked about the 6-speed, the 9.8 ground clearance, the weight, all the other stuff. I'm like, yeah, every problem that we've all complained about, those are all going to disappear on this mythical bike.
Yeah. Oh, I see. In Fantasyland, in your fantasy garage. Excellent,
correct.
Excellent. Well, Josh, of course, bringing us back down to earth with a rough landing to let us know that there is no DRZ upgrade. He is totally pulling all of our legs here on the program. So happy April Fools to each and every one of you out there. But the rest of the news on today's show is actually real news. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we try to keep you on top of all of the great stuff going on out here in Powersports. Thank you so much for clicking, liking, sharing all of these videos with your friends who love watching and hearing and learning about things going on out here in motorcycling and Powersports. You can always go watch any of our previous shows here on the Facebook or out there on the YouTube as well. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you next week.